data-driven solutions. My name is Sandra Valigora. I'm the product manager for the BioFire Syndromic Solutions. And with me, I have the great honor to present today together with you, Susanne Pass from Radboud University Medical Center. Thank you very much for joining us today. I will start a little bit on introducing this software called the BioFire Fireworks for you today, going through some of the features, and then we will have a little bit of the angle of a user coming from Susanne later on in the academic clinical setting. So if we get started, introducing Fireworks a little bit. This is a software that is supposed to make your everyday work easier in the lab and in the hospitals, in other departments as well, where the results from the syndromic panels of BioFire can be useful. It's to make your life easier, simply. It's a cloud-based centralized data management web portal where you can, through your computer, through your phone, for instance, or other device connected to the internet, have access to your various data from your BioFire systems on performance, utilization, pathogen surveillance, workflow management, and more. And this data is, of course, available for all the BioFire panels. And what I wanted to show you now is what this dashboard can look like, or BioFire Fireworks software. You start when you log in to enter your dashboard. Here you have the menu with all the different features, but the dashboard is showing you a quick overview of what's going on at your different instruments. And if you have various sites connected, you have them all here. You can actually decide to just look at a few of them by clicking the ones you're not interested in away. You can also adjust your time frame that you're looking at. Maybe I'm just interested in the last week's detections. Then I have an overview of all my tests, all the ones that are valid. If there are any invalid ones, I have a good overview of that as well. I see how much I have running in terms of modules, how busy they are, if they are running, or if they are in some kind of trouble, how many are available. But I also have a nice overview here of what I have detected on my panels over a time span, or maybe just an overview of how many detections I have had on my different panels in total during the time frame I have selected. So for the last month, obviously, the data are changing. I can also have the overview per panel. So here I have, for instance, selected the RP 2.1 Plus panel. I have another overview of the gastro panel with my total detections. I can also change this for each panel to have it on a time-based overview. And if you see, if I hover over, I have the number of detections in the time frame. Since I'm having the pneumonia panel here, I can select it on the BAL samples and sputum samples separated, but I can also open a new card where I have them joined. I can easily edit my cards here by adding cards, and I can choose which panels I want to look at. I can also edit the cards I have. I can move them, I can remove them, and reorganize it to whatever my needs are. If I go to the test overview, here I have a lot of nitty-gritty details on all the detections I have done lately. As you can see, it's similar to the dashboard we had on top, but I can also select here. So I have a lot of filters on dates, on who has been running. I can go on specific pouch serial numbers, on specific lot numbers for instrument type. If I then just enter one of these results to have a look at what I have detected, here we have an RP 2.1 Plus panel. If I'm only interested in looking at what has been detected, I can easily do that here. And here we see we have a SARS-CoV-2 detection. I can see my melt curves here. I can also see an amplification curve. I have also multiple detections in this one. I have a rhinoenterovirus and an RSV virus. I can see how my controls are doing. They're looking good. This was a test that passed, so it's no surprise there. I can also easily access the report here and download it. And then I have additional details. I have the test information, details on the pouch, and system that it was running on. If I'm interested into looking at more details on my systems connected, I go to that section called Systems. Here you can see for all my connected locations, all my different systems. If I then enter Lab A, I can rename them to my liking as well. Here I have a Torch 8 running. I see what's going on there live and what has been running there lately. I can see also the utilization of this instrument in terms of different panels. I can look at each single module, how busy it has been. Maybe I have a trend of overusing one of my modules, then it will be quite visible here. And I also have an overview of test errors, and they are also sorted on what kind of error there might be. So failed, incomplete runs, software errors, and so on. I have all the statistics here. If I have been recently connecting Fireworks and not been and don't have any data generated yet, I can easily import previous data here with a few clicks. I can also, if I have an admin rights, I can add different users. I can monitor the different accounts here. I can decide who has access to which sites. And finally, if we look at the settings, I can change my password here. If I need multi-factor authorization settings, I can do it here. So a lot can be monitored. I can have an overview of which sites I have access to. And maybe the white background kind of hurt my eyes. I can switch it to dark, and then all the features will look a little bit differently, but it's all adjusted to my likings. So that was a quick demonstration of what Fireworks can do. And now I will hand over to a bit more of a hands-on presentation of how you can actually use it in your everyday life. So please, Susanne Path, medical molecular biologist, medical molecular microbiologist at Radboud University Medical Center. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my slides. I hope you see them at the moment. Can you confirm?
Yes, we can see the slides.
Perfect. So indeed, I would like to give some information on how we use Fireworks software in an academic clinical setting. The fact that I just learned, again, new things from the software seems to be the statement of the year, because there's quite some features in this software, and I think it's really interesting to see that the software that you built is really that interactive and intuitive. Just finding out, let me check. Okay, so yeah. So Radboud University is actually located in Nijmegen, which is a very nice town to visit, of course, nearby the border of Germany. We are an not that old university hospital. It's a university hospital from so medical faculty from 1951 on, and we have about 22,000 admissions each year. We have about 12,000 employees, but we are the reference center for mycobacteria and fungi. So that seems that's very nice to do as well. So our molecular diagnostics at Medical Microbiology, we run molecular diagnostics on several commercial platforms, like the Gene Expert. We use that also for remote sites like clinical chemistry and remote labs in the nearby area in Nijmegen. So we have this broad machine park with ePlex, but also 2 BioFire torches, Cobas 6800 and the Ingenious from Elitech, which run lots of different panels for molecular diagnostics. We have this broad machine park also for backup in case of delivery problems, but also, of course, because we have multiple sample types and quite a various patient cohort. And besides this commercial platform, we also run a molecular diagnostic street on which we run more than 100 microbial targets, which all have been validated according to the ISO 15189 guidelines. Besides that, we also run whole genome sequences and targeted amplicon approach on the NextSeq 500 and GridION from Nanopore. So how do we use our workflow for our patients' diagnostics? So if a patient comes in or is admitted to the hospital in a certain department for respiratory infections, we usually start looking at their samples, at least if they are just normal swabs, in a very time-limited frame, so within a few hours, 24 hours a day, at the clinical chemistry lab on a GeneXpert. But of course, there are some patient population cohorts which require more diagnostics. So if they are negative in a GeneXpert, we run them more RP21 plus panel on our own lab. But also samples which have not been, which are not on label on the GeneXpert, so like BAL or maybe more deeper respiratory samples. We have to validate them according to the ISO on the BioFire as well. And we will run them on the BioFire RP 2.1 plus panel to make sure that we find everything. And then also the GI panel, which is directly transmitted to the molecular microbiology lab, and we run that on the BioFire as well. So Fireworks was installed in our lab in March 2023. We think it's a very intuitive cloud-based software. We haven't been using it too much lately, and certainly since now I saw that there are lots of more features than I knew of. We'll probably be using it more, but we use it for some current applications. So we use it for the export of result reports, for the documentation of quality controls, of course, because we have to do entrance controls for new kit lot numbers or new modules whenever they come from the tech service, then we'll have to do that. And we want to document that in our own quality control system. So that's why we do these exports of these reports. So what you do then is go to the test and then report, and then you just download. It's very simple and quick, and it's very nice overview of all the details that you want to have for your quality control setup, of course. Besides that, we also use it for lab management. So the overview of the number of tests, the occupations of the modules, which is very intuitive, I think. And I think mostly used also for the number of invalid tests and to explore that a little bit more. So what you then do, and Sandra already showed you, is you can go to the dashboard. You can also go to test. You can see how many invalid tests there are, and actually in December. So this is one case that we had in December 2023. We noticed that there was a problem with one of the modules, perhaps one of the modules in our torch. So we thought to explore the data. So we went to the invalid tests. And then we customized the data. So you select a custom time frame at this side. You edit the columns and tick all the relevant boxes. So we thought that at least the system was interesting, what kind of module, and maybe the lot number of the kit. So we thought that would be relevant as well to see whether or not, so what was really happening. And then you scroll to the right. You don't forget that, otherwise you won't see the data. And then you can even sort on the column of the interest parameter. So in this case, we sorted on the module name, and we saw that there actually was one module, the TMD 25C2, which was having a problem, probably due to technical failure. So this is actually when the technician sent the problem report to tech service, and the pouch was so that the module was renewed. So also I think BioFi Fireworks is really interesting for data mining. However, there are some troubles because you have to keep in mind that, so this is actually when we set all time. So these are all the tests that are imported in Fireworks for our site at this moment. So what you do is go to export, and you just want to export, of course, all these results, but then you get this report that you can only export 1700 tests or fewer. And so I was just wondering, why is this? Because I mean, the test that we have here, that might be, it should not be that much of trouble, but I'll tell you later why probably there is problems to actually export that many tests. So we go back to data mining 2023 Q4. We just want to know what kind of data there is in there. So again, we export just a little bit lesser tests as the one before. And then my computer was quite a good computer, which is just a Mac, but it was just running, again, importing. It took a little bit of time. And then we saw that there was like more than 1 million rows in this export of only 800 tests. So I was just wondering, okay, this might be a different using Excel, but actually also for Excel it was too high because well, it could download a little bit more than 1 million rows, actually 1,084,000, 40,000. Well, it's too much, too high number anyway. But you know, that was actually the maximum for Excel as well. So so there are so many rows for only 858 tests, and I was scrolling down this information, and we had like more than 1,000 rows per sample. For the GI targets, there were quite a lot of targets, of course, and one replicate has one row. So, well, it might be that there might be some redundant info, at least for just simple data mining, if you are in a lab. So that might be something that should be looked after if, well, if BioFire really wants to, or bioMérieux really wants to have that fixed. Anyway, again, we go to the lab. This is actually a map of our, just a small fraction of a map of our lab. And we've got these two labs here. So this is actually the lab where we pipette our samples for the BioFire. We've got a computer over here. And because we think, of course, mobile phones are not allowed here. And because the BioFire is a little bit noisy, we would like to have the BioFire in another lab, which we don't enter too much, so we don't have too much troubles with the noise. But then it would be really nice to have like, well, of course, Fireworks on this computer, but then again, there is a two-factor authentication needed, and mobile phones are not actually allowed in the lab. So two-factor authentication for this computer would be quite troublesome because you need a mobile phone for that. Actually, I saw yesterday that you will be able to, once you did that once, you'll be able to tick a box, and then you can use one password to actually enter Fireworks. But still, you need to enter the lab with a mobile phone one time, and then this also, well, would be nice to have that feature in the future as well. So, and if you go to the interactive dashboard, it's really built for current monitoring, which I completely understand because that's what a dashboard does. And then if one wants to review a specific time frame, the custom time is not in the dashboard. So what you can do is just click on this. So if you are really interested in the invalid test, for instance, you just click on this box, and then you are automatically going to the test menu, and really nice. So you can actually set the current time frame, and sometimes this is of course needed to actually have a look at that data and also the data trend for trend analysis, which actually is obliged in ISO 15189. So this is where I come back to wishes for the future. Would really like to have like an interactive trend analysis. So also the percentage positives. I just saw indeed the number of positives per panel and stuff like that. But I think the percentage positives is really interesting in terms of epidemiology in your own lab. And if you highlight that with the number of assays as a bar plot in the background and different time frames, then I think that would be really interesting as well. The percentage of errors, not only the number of errors, but also the percentage, because I think the percentage is the parameter that we actually focus on. Then I think reagent stock management would be interesting as well, because of course BioFire knows what was ordered. bioMérieux knows what was ordered. Fireworks actually knows how much tests that were tested. So if you combine the two, then you will be able to actually give a notice if a stock is running out in time or whatever. And I think that would help at least for the technicians to make sure that the stock is managed in a correct way. Also with, of course, the dates and when the expiry dates. And one suggestion from our technician, Laura, she said that problem reporting would also be very nice to have that work within the fireworks. So just to add a button to email a certain problem report to bioMérieux tech service from the software, that would at least save a few steps of emailing it yourself and downloading it from the torch. So of course, well, just a very small talk, I think, only a few minutes, but thanks to Laura, Ellen, and all our molecular diagnostic technicians, of course, at Radboud, and of course my co-worker Willem Melgers. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Suzanne, for an excellent presentation, and very interesting how you showed the troubleshooting, how you could obtain the data easily through fireworks. And of course, there is always room for improvement. And we have discussed before already that we are very grateful for your feedback. And of course, this has been reported. This is a software that will continuously get new features, and we'll continuously update it. So of course, feedback like this is very valuable. A reagent stock management is actually one of the features that we are looking at implementing in the future when it comes to the more in-depth epidemiological data on trends. Currently, we have a standalone software called Trends. And the idea is that they will merge in the future. So we are getting there, and it's already partially available, some of the wishes you have. So.
That's great.
I forgot to say in the beginning that you have the possibility to ask questions in the chat, but also if you would like to orally ask a question to Suzanne, you are welcome to do so by raising your hand, and you will then be unmuted and can ask your question. So far, seems like we don't have anybody raising their hand. So I will just take the liberty and ask a question right away, since a comment I got, Susanne, was that you saw new features that gave you new ideas. Could you maybe elaborate on that, please?
I'm sorry, I was just disconnected. So can you repeat the question?
I will repeat the question, no problem. So you said that while I was showing the features of Fireworks, that gave you some new ideas of features you were not aware of. Could you maybe elaborate a bit on what that was?
Yeah, I think the ones that were in the dashboard, and I wasn't aware that we could really scroll down, because of course if you have this this dashboard, then and I wasn't aware that you could actually manage the cards yourself. So that I think is really interesting, because then everybody can just interact with them with the software themselves. And the number of positives, and I think that's really interesting as well, because that's a feature that we really are tracking in the lab ourselves. We actually normally do that via the LIS system, but I think within within the BioFire software, that's I think interesting as well. The only thing is that when we are tracking, for instance, via the LIS system, for instance, the number of or the percentage failed tests, then we are not able to see why the test was failed. And so whether or not it was like a technical error, or it was like a sample error or whatever. And this is something I think that the software features quite easily, is to data mine, to explore why tests failed, and to see what's really happening, and to perform the right actions.
Yes, indeed. So there is more data to gather through Fireworks than what is reported to LIS, and that was also the idea behind the software. Would you have? Do you know if there are any other colleagues in the hospital using, or that could have an advantage of having access to Fireworks outside of the lab?
I'm not sure if outside of the lab that would be really feasible and interesting, because of course the doctors just want to know, okay, what kind of pathogen are we dealing with, and how does that reflect on our clinical management? So I'm not sure whether or not they would really be interested to actually to dive into this Fireworks software. And to be honest, it's truly a lab. To my opinion, it's really interesting for the lab, and also of course for the lab technicians, and certainly because it's remote, so it's easy, and certainly just like I showed you with the map, is when you're working in different laboratories, it's very easy to see whether or not the BioFire is occupied, or how many pouches can still be run, or whatever. I think that's very nice, because you don't have to walk up and through. But no, to be honest, for doctors at the bed, I don't think it's really interesting to be no.
No. Okay. No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
A little bit of a practical question then. Since this is a software that is connected to the instrument in the lab, would you say that the discussion with the IT department, were you involved in that, to be sort of allowed to connect to the Fireworks?
Yeah, I wasn't involved.
Yeah,
I wasn't involved myself. A colleague of us did that. I called him up and I said, was it very difficult, or what is your opinion? And actually for Radboud UMC, certainly with the privacy and all the privacy rules also, which we are quite strict to for acceptance. But actually for this BioFire software, it was quite easy. I think they had a contract, and it was signed, and of course the privacy officer had a look at it. Our IT department had a look at it, and that was it. So they open the network port at the BioFire. IT did that, of course, and so communication from the BioFire is allowed to Fireworks. I think it's very important to know that bioMérieux cannot enter our data without any permission. So that's one of the things that's of course very important, at least from a privacy officer perspective.
Exactly. Yes, it is a private platform that Fireworks offers. Thank you very much for joining us today, Suzanne. Our time is up now, and thank you everybody that joined and listened to this talk today. Of course, we are here to help, and should you have questions related to Fireworks, don't be shy to reach out to us, and we wish you a lovely day. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Bye-bye.